Hi, it's Katrina. Number 10. War Club in the Backyard. Mark Lake was clearing up his backyard after a storm hit his small seaside village on Vancouver Island in Canada. As he was cleaning up the debris, he came across a strange-looking stick jutting out from the base of a maple tree. The stick was a thick piece of wood that appeared to have been worked very carefully by a skilled craftsman. He picked it up and looked it over, and Mark realized he had stumbled upon a piece of history. As it turns out, he came across a rare Salish war club in his backyard. It was an artifact from the Comox First Nation people. This is an extremely rare artifact. Even the chief of the First Nation people, Nicole Rempel, called it pretty exciting. Nicole has been helping collect artifacts for her nation since 2013, yet has never seen a piece like this. But we don't know how old the artifact is yet. Because it has to go through the chiefs and a bit of Native American bureaucracy, archaeologists haven't even gotten involved yet. Only when archaeologists are called in to do proper analysis will we truly know how old the war club is. What we do know is that the Salish coast of Vancouver Island has been occupied by native tribes for over 10,000 years. The Salish people have lived in British Columbia and Washington almost since humans first stepped foot in North America. There are over 24 local languages spoken, but today there are only about 25,000 Salish people left. This war club was probably used by an ancient warrior for battle, but we don't know exactly when. Number 9. Lost Medieval Empire. Archaeologists recently uncovered the remains of an ancient medieval empire in China. The discovery came in the southwest of the country, while researchers were excavating the ruins of the old capital of the Nanzhao Empire. They came across the remains of what they believed to be one of the biggest Buddhist monasteries in the world. When the archaeologists started excavating the remains of these monasteries, they came across some mysterious artifacts. The artifacts suggest the location was used as a burial ground for the most important rulers of the empire. The site consists of at least 14 major buildings. They were probably constructed around the empire's peak in the 9th century AD, but the dating hasn't been confirmed yet. What's interesting is that the Nanzhao Empire has mostly been forgotten, and so the find has come as a huge and very welcome surprise. They were a militarized imperial state that conquered huge parts of Vietnam, Myanmar, Thailand, Laos, and the western Chinese provinces of Guizhou and Sichuan. 1,000 years ago, the Nanzhao Empire was practically unstoppable. For several centuries, they held the balance between two of the other major powers in Asia at the time, mainland China and Tibet. Nanzhao originally came to power in the 7th century. At about the same time, militarization was increasing throughout Asia. By the year 800 AD, China had an army of about 600,000, and Nanzhao had a force of 100,000 elite warriors. What a lot of people don't know is that in medieval Asia, the armies were around 4 times larger than the armies in Europe. If not for the great distance between Asia and Europe, Europe would have been utterly decimated by war with the East. As for the Nanzhao, they were ultimately absorbed into China's larger sphere and forgotten. Not much remains of them today, except the few ruins in their old capital. Number 8. Tree stump on Mars. Something pretty cool was recently spotted on Mars, what appears to be a giant tree stump filled with rings. The image of the mysterious tree stump was taken in June of 2021 by the ExoMars Trace Gas Orbiter. The orbiter is part of a joint mission involving a Russian space agency and the European Space Agency. The orbiter travels around Mars from above and collects data about the atmosphere and takes images of the red planet's surface. This new image is unique, looking like an enormous stump with concentric rings to mark every year of its age. But of course, there are no tree stumps on Mars. This is an impact crater that happens to be extremely rich in ice. The rings inside the crater don't tell its age, but rather show what's made the planet's structure throughout its history. Think of an impact crater kind of like an onion. When a piece of debris smashes into a planet, it carves out a chunk, like taking a bite out of an onion. This reveals all the little layers, which can show what kinds of changes happened throughout a large period. In this crater on Mars, scientists were able to identify rich deposits of ice from millions of years ago. Each layer shows a major climatic change, which scientists believe came because of Mars shifting its axis. Millions of years ago, Mars spun on its axis, very similar to how Earth spins today, but that's changed over time. And those changes, because they caused such environmental catastrophe, show up in craters' rings like the rings on a tree stump. Number 7. An ancient newspaper. A man in Edinburgh, Scotland, discovered an amazing piece of history while sorting through his late grandmother's belongings. He found a 110-year-old newspaper, an original that was printed the day after the Titanic sank. It's not that ancient, but it's incredibly rare. According to Graham McCallum, he discovered the newspaper in a shoebox of all places, tucked away in the family home. He believes his grandmother must have purchased it while she was living in Newcastle back in 1912. She tucked the newspaper away, understanding its significance, and then everyone just kind of forgot about it. The shoebox was moved around with the family, but nobody ever looked to see what was in it. The paper was printed by the Daily Mirror, describing the horrible events of the unsinkable ship's demise. It has an estimated worth of over £6,000, but Graham has no intention of selling it and is going to keep it safe, hopefully for another 100 years, until his grandchildren find it for themselves. What would you do? Keep or sell? Let me know in the comments below. Number 6. An ancient Peruvian temple. In Peru, a new megalithic temple has been discovered in Lambayeque, believed to have once been the site of mysterious fertility rituals. The discovery was made by the Peruvian archaeologist Walter Alva, the same guy who uncovered the tomb of the Lord of Sipan back in 1987. The temple was found at the Huaca El Toro site, along with 21 new tombs. So far, it's the only megalithic piece of architecture found in Lambayeque, and there isn't much left of it. The archaeologists came across a staircase buried underneath the dirt of a hill, along with the walls of the temple, which have been reduced to a straight line of loose rocks. If they hadn't dug beneath the surface of the hill, they would have never come across the ruins. Turns out the entire temple was buried. Archaeologists say this structure is at least 3,000 years old. The reason they know it was used in rituals is that they uncovered an altar, one similar to altars found in other temples used in fertility rituals throughout Peru. It's unclear who built it or why it was abandoned and left to be covered by thousands of years of shifting dirt. It appears to have been reused by later cultures like the Chimu, but the original architects are completely unknown. Number 5. Secret underground ocean. A shocking discovery announced in early 2022 by scientists is about to blow your mind. Researchers have discovered the most compelling evidence yet that one of Saturn's moons is brimming with extraterrestrial life. The moon is called Mimas, but it's known as the Death Star in the scientific community because it looks suspiciously like Darth Vader's secret weapon in Star Wars. It even has a crater on one side that looks like the concave part of the Death Star. But of course, the moon has nothing to do with science fiction, and information recently sent back to Earth from NASA's Cassini probe suggests it has an entire world hiding under its surface. The probe spotted a bizarre wobble in the rotation of the moon, which has made scientists think there could be water hiding inside it. The wobble is quite possibly the result of a liquid ocean sloshing around underneath the icy surface of the moon as it goes around Saturn. This is groundbreaking because it means there could be life. And if there's an ocean of strange alien life under the surface of one of Saturn's moons, it means there are infinite sources of life out in the universe. Number 4. Giant woolly mammoth tooth. A construction worker in Iowa just made the best discovery of his life. While he was working on a community college site, he accidentally dug up the enormous tooth of a woolly mammoth. His name is Justin Blowett, and he credits his 2 sons for his discovery. Because of his kids' love of dinosaurs, Justin said he was able to recognize that the object came from a prehistoric creature. The tooth is huge and takes 2 hands just to hold. It weighs over 11 pounds and is nearly a foot long, making it bigger and heavier than a human head. The tooth once belonged to one of the most well-understood prehistoric animals in the world. Because woolly mammoths roamed across the icy wastelands of Europe and North America up until 10,000 years ago, their skeletons are found in many places. But it's still rare that an ordinary person, when not even looking, can come across a fossilized tooth like this in such excellent condition. Although Justin was the one who discovered it, the tooth belongs to the college, which plans to donate it to the Sheldon Prairie Museum, where it will be put on display. Have you ever seen a mammoth tooth or a skeleton? Let me know in the comments below. Number 3. A spooky face. The Hubble Space Telescope took one of the eeriest pictures in galactic history not too long ago. They took a snapshot of what appeared to be the face of some kind of alien titan. The optical illusion is the result of two galaxies colliding. Two huge yellow eyes like swirling galaxies, with the head framed in a blue nebula of space dust. The photograph resembles a face, and yet it isn't. It's a pair of galaxies colliding in a rarely photographed phenomenon. The reason it looks like a face is that the two colliding galaxies form its eyes, while the energy around them has formed itself into the shape of a human skull. Groupings of stars even seem to form a nose and mouth. So far, this is the only time anything similar to this has been captured in a picture. If you're wondering how a pair of galaxies can crash into each other, it's simple. Galaxies apparently frequently bump into one another, and often a bigger galaxy will swallow a smaller one if it gets too close. Nothing is anchored down in space, and everything is drifting at its own speed. These galaxies simply got too close, and the contact ripped them into a haze of gas, dust, and stars. Number 2. The Egyptian Atlantis. Off the coast of Alexandria in Egypt, researchers discovered the country's very own version of Atlantis. It's the submerged world of Heraklion, plunged into the sea about 1,500 years ago. It was once a prosperous port city and one of the most important harbors in the entire Mediterranean. Now it's an underwater ruin. The city was first discovered in 2001 by a team of archaeologists led by expert Frank Gaudio. Frank had been looking for Napoleon's lost warships from the Battle of the Nile in 1798. Instead, he came across broken pillars, cracked statues, sunken obelisks, and dozens of other structures and pieces of architecture. Frank had stumbled upon a very real underwater city. Researchers have been able to piece together quite a bit of Heraklion's history in the past 20 years. It helps that excavations have never stopped. Just recently, Frank was at it again, pulling out another hoard of treasure. This time, they were statues of Egyptian gods. Archaeologists salvaged a massive statue of the Egyptian goddess Isis and a statue of the god Hapi, each 16 feet tall, and preserved in excellent condition because they had been stuck in the mud. They also found smaller statues of other gods. Researchers believe they were crafted to guard the temple in which Cleopatra was inaugurated when she became the Queen of the Nile. There is still a lot to be discovered here, and some people even believe that Cleopatra's lost tomb might be hidden somewhere beneath the waves. Number 1. Mysterious jars. In India, 65 mysterious sandstone jars were just discovered by researchers with the ANU Northeastern Hill University and Gauhati University. The jars are similar to the ones that have been found in other Asian countries, such as Indonesia and Laos. You may have heard of the Plain of Jars before, the bizarre site in Laos where an unknown group of people buried hundreds of bodies in gigantic jars and left them strewn across a barren field. A strikingly similar site was just discovered half a world away in India. As of right now, archaeologists are stumped. The jars reach up to 10 feet tall, with some being partially buried, some are fully buried, and some are just sitting in the open. According to one of the team members, Nicholas Kopal, the jars were probably used by the Naga people, an ethnic group still living in northeast India, except they would have used them centuries ago, like large urns in long-lost burial rituals. Thanks for watching! Which of these fascinating discoveries surprised you the most? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe! See you next time! Bye!